This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Conservative rally. Party leader Pierre Poilievre will address supporters tonight in Trenton.
Protecting the whales. Lobster harvesters try breakaway gear as a way to avoid harming endangered right whales.
And please no green bananas. Meet the 89-year-old releasing his first album.
Shower chances ending throughout this evening. Pretty nice day shaping up for Thursday with some sun and cloud in the mix. Your full forecast is coming up.
With the federal election entering its final phase, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, the only party leader who had not yet visited Nova Scotia up until today, will hold a rally in the province tonight.
Poilievre will address supporters at a Canada First rally for change tonight in Trenton. That's in the riding of Central Nova. The CBC's Gareth Hampshire has more.
Pierre Poilievre's Canada First Rally for Change is going to be happening here at the Trenton Minor Sports Community Centre. Chairs have been set out inside the arena and campaign materials. Poilievre's holding this rally tonight, and tomorrow morning will be in Halifax for a news conference. The Conservative leader has already been to other Atlantic provinces in this campaign, but this is his first visit to Nova Scotia this time round. He'll be hoping to give a big boost to all the Conservative candidates in the province. Still about an hour before the event is set to start, and people are already lining up outside.
I like Pierre's ideas of everything he's saying so far, and if we don't get rid of the Liberal government, we're in big trouble.
I'd like to see how it's done and be here in person to hear Pierre Poilievre actually speak, because sometimes when we get in news clips and articles, you don't actually get to see the actual person speak. You only get what they want you to see.
Definitely affordability and the other side of the sign. You know, we don't know where Canada is anymore. It's gone.
11 seats are up for grabs in Nova Scotia. The Conservatives won 3 of those seats in the last election. Chris D'Entremont, Rick Perkins and Stephen Ellis are in the race again. However, tonight, Poilievre has chosen the riding of Central Nova for this rally. It is a big riding that takes in all of Pictou County and parts of Antigonish, Guysborough and Halifax counties. Real estate agent Bryson Jenkins is running for the Conservatives. He's up against Sean Fraser for the Liberals, who Poilievre has repeatedly criticised, and vice versa. So this is definitely a seat the Conservatives would love to win. Jenkins has already been supported by Peter MacKay, who used to hold this riding for the Conservatives. Organisers are expecting more than 1,000 people to be here for the event that gets underway at 7 p.m. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Trenton.
Over 200,000 Nova Scotians have already voted so far in the federal election. That's around a 30% increase from last federal election, where just over 160,000 voted in the advance polls. On Tuesday, Elections Canada says more than 7 million people nationally voted over the long weekend. That is the highest number ever. Everyone else who's eligible to vote can do so on Election Day.
To other news now, the search for a 4-year-old boy who went missing after falling into a river in Guysborough County last Thursday has resumed. The boy was fishing on the Salmon River close to where it empties into Shetterbucto Bay with a man and another child. The man jumped into the water immediately but wasn't able to rescue the child. RCMP confirmed today that drones were in the air to continue this search. They've also asked the public to avoid using personal drones in the area where police are present to prevent interference with their equipment.
A lawyer for the man charged with attempted murder for an incident in the ER at the Halifax Infirmary in January is requesting an assessment to determine whether he should be found not criminally responsible. Nicholas Colombe is facing 9 charges in total after several healthcare workers were attacked in the emergency room, one of them stabbed. Colombe's lawyer said he would not make the request for an assessment without Colombe being there in person. He was appearing by video from jail. The case has been rescheduled to April 29th, when the request is expected to be made formally.
The 6 people who run the provincial restorative justice program in the Halifax area have all been sent layoff notices, they say, without cause. The 6 workers employed by Community Justice Society got their layoff notice on April the 7th. The Community Justice Society is one of 8 organizations contracted by the province to administer restorative justice. It's also the only one that's unionized.
You know, it kind of feels like we are sitting at a kid's table while the adults are talking about decisions made regarding our lives. We are not being kind of informed of that. The only information that we received is that we are being terminated without cause within 90 days.
In a statement, the province says unionization was not a factor in the decision. New bilateral funding agreements between the provincial government and universities will freeze tuition at current levels for Nova Scotia undergraduate students. An internal memo from Acadia University obtained by CBC News lays out the broad strokes of that school's deal. But sources familiar with the agreements tell CBC the tuition freeze applies to all 10 of the province's universities. In his memo, Acadia University President Jeffrey Hennessy says the school will get a 2% increase in base funding in each of the 2 years of the agreement. But Hennessy says there is not an increase to cover the funding loss related to the tuition freeze.
Construction of the new emergency department at Yarmouth Regional Hospital will start next week. The new facility will have twice the capacity of the current department and will be able to care for 30 people at a time, up from the current 14. It will also have space for 4 ambulances, up from 2. Other features include 2 triage spaces, a trauma area, 2 virtual care exam rooms, a dedicated kids waiting area, and mental health facilities. The new facility is scheduled to open in 2027.
And with us now, Ryan Snoddon.
Yeah, not so chilly as yesterday.
No, temperatures popped pretty nicely. We had some sunshine on tap today. Some showers still lingering out there this evening, especially in the north and east. And we will see that chance continuing for the evening, wrapping up overnight. Now for Thursday, pretty solid day overall yet again. Into the double digits for most, some teens down into the south and west, but a light northerly flow on the backside of this system that's been sailing through. And so with that, we're going to be looking at temperatures right near 6, 7, 8 degrees across the north and east. The clouds a bit more stubborn for Thursday across the north and east as well. Should mix out to a mix of sun and cloud in through the south and west. So there goes the system departing. And again, just that light northerly flow wrapping in behind this system on Thursday. And so you can see a little bit brighter here towards the south and west, area of high pressure. Keeping things quiet though, we've got this little trough that's going to swing through for Thursday night in through Friday morning. That'll depart, maybe a break of sun late Friday. And then we're watching this next system. And this is going to be one that is going to be bringing a pretty substantial shot of rain into the weekend time frame. We'll break that down with your 7-day coming up in a few minutes.
Yeah, stay tuned for all the details. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Halifax has gotten a poor grade on fiscal transparency from a Canadian think tank. The C.D. Howe Institute gave the city a D- in their annual report card. They say Halifax lost points for passing the 2024 budget after the fiscal year already started and using different accounting standards for its budget and financial statements. Halifax's chief administrative officer disagrees with that grade and the Institute's methods.
I would not say that it's a completely accurate assessment. I would place more value in the assessment process we go through with the Government Finance Officers Association around our fiscal responsibility.
O'Toole says the city has won awards in budget excellence from other groups in recent years, and the Municipal Auditor General has not raised major concerns.
Lobster harvesters in the Maritimes will be working with new rules this season for the protection of endangered right whales, and it's expected to reduce downtime if a whale is spotted. In PEI, many crews are trying out new whale-safe gear, which is designed to break free. The CBC's Nancy Russell reports.
PEI lobster fishers are hoping new rules will mean fewer days closed to fishing when endangered right whales are detected in island waters. The new rules are being introduced this season by the Federal Department of Fisheries, including a pilot project with what's called whale-safe gear.
There's been some papers done by scientists in the U.S. showing that a whale getting entangled in gear with a breaking strength of less than 1,700 pounds has the capability to free itself from that gear.
Giffen says PEI fishers are using the whale-safe gear in record numbers.
We've actually had a higher voluntary implementation rate than any other province. We've been implementing and trialing here in PEI for a couple of years to find what works. We have about 800 harvesters on Prince Edward Island out of the 1,280-ish that we have that have picked up whale-safe gear.
Giffen says there are also new fathom lines, marking areas where fishing can continue if a right whale is detected.
So it gives a little bit more space for harvesters to move their gear if need be.
Giffen says the initial closure of a fishing area will be for 7 days now when an endangered whale is spotted instead of 15 days. That can be extended for another 7 days if another whale is seen in that 7 days. There's also specially marked whale-safe line with different colors for each lobster fishing area.
The point of it is if a whale is entangled, then DFO has an idea of where the whales are getting entangled and can focus management on those areas that seem to be the problem areas.
Scientists who study right whales say the number increased slightly in 2014, but there were also 5 documented deaths and 4 lost calves that scientists presume are dead, the highest annual mortality since 2019, which is why some groups say right whales need even more protection.
We're happy to see that there is no lessening of the rules or no weakening of the rules. We do feel, that the closures that are put in place have done a good job to protect right whales, but certainly there is more. There's always more that can be done to protect this endangered species.
Weather permitting, PEI lobster fishers will head out for the season on April 25th. Nancy Russell, CBC News, Charlottetown.
The group behind a proposed coastal refuge for captive whales in eastern Nova Scotia has renewed its bid to provide safety to 2 killer whales living in a shuttered marine park in France. However, the U.S.-based whale sanctuary project has yet to receive government approval. The $20 million whale sanctuary would be near Port Hilford in Guysborough County. The nonprofit group released a statement last week saying it is ready to work with the French government after plans to move the whales to Spain's Canary Islands fell through. Last month, documents obtained by the Canadian press revealed the group had yet to secure approval from all 5 owners of the properties adjacent to where the group plans to build a huge floating net enclosure.
A figure of Nova Scotia's political scene for more than 50 years has died. Billy Joe MacLean of Port Hawkesbury was 88 years old. First elected to town council in 1962, MacLean retired from politics as the longtime mayor of Port Hawkesbury in 2016. In between, MacLean was also a colorful and at times controversial provincial cabinet minister in the Buchanan government. Max Gallant has been a musician for most of his life, but he didn't start singing until he was in his 80s.
And now, just before his 90th birthday, he's releasing his first album called Please No Green Bananas, I'm 90.
When I'm in the hospital dying, I'll probably be singing. Tonight there'll be candlelights and roses. My name is Max Gallant. I'm just about ready to turn 90. I'll be 90 on May 14th. I was born in Alberton, way up the west end of PEI, and moved to Halifax right after World War II. I started playing probably when I was about 11 or 12 years old. A bunch of us boys used to gather up. There wasn't much. There was no Nintendo games and all that stuff back in them days. So we decided after school we'd get together and learn to play guitar. And some of them could sing. I never ever tried to sing. If it wasn't for Kirk, I would have never ever even known that I could sing a little bit. But he brought all that out. To say
My name is Kirk Bernard. I'm from Nail Pond, PEI. I'm a musician, and I met Max through music. I have him over to the studio time after time, and back then he was playing fiddle, and we'd jam in the studio. We'd get a whole bunch of our friends, you know. As soon as they knew Max was in town, back on PEI, everybody would show up to jam. And then eventually, he mentioned to me that he couldn't play anymore. He said, you know, maybe I won't come to the studio this time. I said, no, come on down anyway. And I said, you want to play something? He said, my hands are bothering me. He said, I don't think I can play. I said, okay, well, can you sing? And he said, no, I can't sing. And I said, well, why don't we give it a try?
My son-in-law today. I sang a song and he said, that don't sound too bad. He said, let's make a CD. I said, I can't make a CD. I don't even know words to the song. I never ever learned the song. So finally we kept putting them together and this is what we have now. This is our album we have now.
What is the album called and why is it called that?
Please no green bananas. I got a buddy that lives up in Ontario, and he's quite a character. He's 91. He's 5'2". He's got white hair, and he looks like little Jiminy Cricket. He still mows his own lawn, let's put it that way. So that was one of his sayings. Don't buy no green bananas. They may not live long enough for them to ripen. So I had to use that, eh?
And then we put in brackets, I'm 90. And a lot of people didn't know. Like, people call and ask me all the time, what's the deal with the green bananas? And when I tell them, they get a chuckle because it really shows Max's character. He's that type of a guy.
Why did you want to do this for Max?
Well, he's turning 90 and it's a big thing, and he's never had a CD. And I thought, why not? I mean, all it is time, right? So we all got together and we decided let's put the CD together and finish it. And it was a labor of love.
It means so much, so close to my heart. I just don't know how to thank them, really and truthfully. The time and effort they put into this is unbelievable. Great bunch.
I thought that would never end. The other voice, Max. Not bad, old boy. Yes, sir.
Way to go, Max.
Max is enjoying life. That's great.
He sure is. All right, Ryan is up next with the full weather forecast. We're back after the break.
All right, it felt like spring today,
I
didn't
know, very, very welcome.
Yeah. The sun always helps, and
Yep.
we did get a little bit of bonus sunshine through central areas today, and that really helped temperatures pop. And even in the southwest, where we were expecting that sun would break in, temperatures were warm, but exceeded expectations in a few spots, including down in the south and west, where it is just a terrific evening.
Ooh.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Beach day.
Until you
teleport
put your feet
there
in the
right
water.
now.
Yeah, until you
Yeah.
put your feet in the water, yeah.
Actually, that's a little teaser to our viewer picture of the day, where there
Okay.
are
Stay
feet
tuned.
in the water
Okay.
with our viewer picture, as you will see.
Brave people.
Yeah.
Brave, very brave. Kids,
Of course.
you know, they're hardier for sure. Have a look at the high temperatures. 17 at the Shelburne station
That's
today.
impressive.
Kedzie at 16, Western Head at 16. The metro area was right around 15, as well as up towards Sheet Harbor, the Eastern Shore. Notably cooler towards Cape Breton and the North Shore with a little bit of an onshore wind there. The clouds also capped and a few showers kicking around. Note temperatures out there right now. It is still 16 at Western Head. That is our hot spot with a nice favorable wind coming in from the land and not the water. And as we look at the current winds, indeed, they are fairly light in from the west and northwest right now in most cases, and sustained in around the 20 kilometer per hour range. A little bit later up towards Cape Breton, we are seeing some gusts at last check in the 30 to 40 kilometer per hour range here in through the south and west. And there are the showers that have been kind of rolling out of New Brunswick, and as expected today, the clouds has been more capped and the showers have been kind of marching along this corridor from Colchester, Cumberland into Pictou and Antigonish. Fairly light, but the showers are at least in the mix, and also a couple of spotty showers towards Kentville, Scotts Bay, Cobequid Bay. Those may just clip into the metro area over the next few hours as well. Certainly a risk for showers this evening for the east and central before that system departs. This is the trough that we're watching that is going to swing in for Friday, Thursday night into Friday morning to be exact. Let's have a quick look at those temperatures. Notably cooler here across the northwest of North America. You can see the temperatures really surging up into the Great Lakes. Right now, 14 in Toronto, 22 degrees in through New York City right now. As we look at the forecast temperatures for tonight, near 1 in Cape Breton will be 2 to 4 to 5 degrees across the mainland. And again, that chance for showers from Kentville to Halifax and east of that line. And as we look at the outlook, you can see those spotty shower chances will linger into the early overnight. Quite a bit of sunshine from the get-go for the southwest into central. The east will see some sun, but then the clouds kind of building in throughout the morning. Cape Breton as well. The clouds will thicken up at times for central and west, but remaining a mix of sun and cloud here, where it looks like the clouds will remain more stubborn than not for Cape Breton and back towards the North Shore. Yesterday, I talked about the potential for an isolated shower here for Thursday. It looks less likely now, less than 30%, but can't rule it out completely. Temperatures anywhere from 4 to 8 degrees for Cape Breton and back towards Antigonish. A little bit milder down towards Sherbrooke and that Eastern Shore with that wind. It's going to be light, but it will be from the north tomorrow. Tatamagouche to New Glasgow, Pictou, 6-7 degrees, and then milder towards the central areas and brighter as well. And that will help temperatures pop. If the sun's just a little bit more in the mix than expected, could see these temperatures maybe approaching 12 to even 13 degrees. That is looking more likely here for inland areas of the west, where I do think we will see a little bit more in the way of sunshine. There's that trough that's going to dig in for Friday night in through, or Thursday night in through Friday morning, rather. That fades away as it runs into an area of high pressure. Not expecting a whole lot, but those shower chances will be in the mix for Friday, with temperatures anywhere from 10 to 13 across the mainland, 7 to 10 across Cape Breton. And this is the next system, which uncertainty continues here, but it is looking more likely that Saturday will remain dry, maybe an isolated shower on the warm front on Saturday morning, but fairly cloudy. This model showing a few sun breaks. It's one of the only ones, keeping our fingers crossed. But this is the wet weather that's going to track in for Saturday night, and that will linger into Sunday. And this does look like it could be a substantial shot, 20 plus millimeters, looking fairly likely at this point. Showers into Monday and temperatures bumping up a little bit towards mid next week. Tom and Amy.
Back up again we go. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. Coming up, we get a look at what marine species will live at a new Halifax aquarium expected to open later this year.
Staff at Dalhousie's Aquatron Laboratory have been busy gathering marine animals since last summer.
The collection of sea creatures will eventually move into the Beatty Center for Marine Biodiversity to a new aquarium that's currently under construction. While there's no date for an official opening, we got a sneak peek.
So we're in sort of the ramp-up stage of the aquarium, doing the things that we can do before we can put water in the exhibits and animals. So we're collecting what we can right now. We've got different ways of catching fish. Some we get in the wild and some of them we get from other facilities. Perhaps the craziest right now are the seahorses that we just brought in from Guelph. We've had them almost a month and they're actually making babies and making more right now. So everybody's really excited about the seahorses. So we thought, this would be a great species to include in our exhibits. Get people asking questions like, oh, you have Nova Scotia sea life. Why is there a seahorse here? Once in a while, we would hear of seahorses in the wild locally here in Nova Scotia. in the St. Margaret's Bay, Mahone Bay area. But now it seems like every year we're hearing more and more about them. Just a great opportunity to do something that people aren't quite expecting. A lot of the other stuff we're collecting where we can. We have sticklebacks and mummy chugs and sculpins and sea ravens, which are really fun because they're almost like puppy dogs in how they behave with our staff.
So we try not to pick favorites, but I love the sea ravens. They're really interactive. It took us a while to get them trained and feeding, so we've kind of developed a relationship with them over time. They're really spectacular to look at and really friendly, so I think they'll be a great addition to the aquarium. The sea ravens come in 3 different colors, red, brown, and yellow. So we're hoping to get a few more and have a variety of each different color. That'll be a great opportunity for the public to become interested and also invested in the species that we have right in our own backyard.
So my favorite is our deep sea octopus. We refer to her as a she because the males have a reproductive tentacle, and we have not been able to identify that on the one that we have. And she's easily become my favorite because she's pretty charismatic. She has the ability to change colors. So depending on her mood, she can shift between like a white pale color or more of a deeper orange. So when we greet her, we can sometimes see the mood change within the color of her skin. I'm sure a lot of people in Nova Scotia don't even know that we have octopus, so that'll be cool for them to see some of the species that you don't usually get to see in the shallow water, and then sort of getting to know how intelligent they actually are, because she is such a small little thing. She has got a lot of personality.
We're the captive holding center for the Atlantic whitefish program, and we're working to try and save this species. We have more in this room than exist anywhere else in the world. It's really, really important. You know, the Atlantic whitefish is about a 14 million year old species. It's very unique in its lineage and its relationship to other close species it's closely related to. And biodiversity is just so important today. If we want to continue to live on our planet in the way we do, we have to protect it. We have to look after that biodiversity. And every time we lose a species, it's another, draw a line through another one and the count goes down. And that's bad for the planet, and it's bad for people too. The blue whale. Yeah, so the blue whale we're really fortunate to have. It was a long 8-year project for our university veterinarian, Chris Harvey-Clark, who led students to the beach, I think 8 years ago, brought it to our Faculty of Agriculture in Truro, where they did a lot of the treatment of the bones and getting them ready, and then it went away for a while, and now it's back hanging in the atrium in the area where the BD Biodiversity Center will be.
How much of a draw do you think that'll be for people coming into this place?
I think it's 2 things. It's a draw for people to come in and see that. It's the largest vertebrate animal to ever be on Earth, so it's a big deal to see one. It's not something that you can just look at on the harbor or see in a whale tour, so that's really important. But it also sets the ambiance for our ocean research as well, and gives us sort of that feel of, you just look up there and see it. It's pretty cool. Even for those of us who've been working, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I still look at it and go, wow, that's pretty cool. These are a long process to opening an education center like this one. It's a combination of interactive non-living exhibits and living exhibits, and it takes us some time. We haven't finished construction yet. We're doing what we can do, which is collect the species and learn how to feed them, because some of these we've never worked with before. So we want to give them the best life possible. So we only brought in a few to start, and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then probably by midsummer, we'll have everything we need to open whenever that happens. We've had to train not just my full-time staff, animal care staff, but our veterinarian has to learn out how to look after these animals. I have to. We really want the health of the animal to be the most important thing we're thinking of. I think it's really completes what Dalhousie's doing. We have a world-leading ocean research program in marine biology. All our faculties touch on the oceans. And now the public can come in and get a bigger vision of what that is, see it, and learn from it. And I think that's really, really important. We have to find ways in science to communicate with the public. We just can't write articles in journals and hope people learn from that. I think it's important that we work with the media and the public and science communicators. So being people to be able to come on campus and see things and ask questions, that's really great.
Coming up, how people are getting information about the federal election after Canadian news was banned from Meta platforms.
Welcome back. This is the first federal election since Facebook and Instagram blocked news from their apps in Canada. Parent company Meta did so after it was told to pay news creators for using their content.
The CBC's Nicole Williams looks at who and what has filled the void left by legitimate sources on the popular apps.
We will always put Canada first.
An online presence necessary to reach more voters, but the social media landscape is also fraught with landmines.
The threats of foreign interference, transnational repression, disinformation, and cyber attacks are real and pervasive.
It's something Elections Canada has been warning voters about since the start of this election. A tidal wave of fake AI-generated content, often with sinister intentions. And there's more of it than ever before. Ever since stories from legitimate news sites were blocked on Facebook and Instagram in Canada. Take this post, for example, an article from last month purportedly from an actual news organization showing Liberal leader Mark Carney standing and laughing alongside convicted sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell. It looks real, but it's not.
As soon as it starts to become, hey, I'm trying to convince you that my political opponent said something that they didn't actually say, that crosses very quickly into dangerous territory.
A new study from the Media Ecosystem Observatory shows about a quarter of Canadians have encountered a social media post or web page that falsely presented itself as a legitimate news source. Some of it from right-leaning groups like Canada Proud. Others, like this one, are crypto scams in disguise. The good news is that many Canadians are able to suss out fake content.
I think it's so easy to just kind of believe whatever you see on the social media or the internet. I think it's really important to sort of like fact check yourself.
Social media news is not news.
But not all.
It doesn't seem obvious. It feels like that's the end of what they were saying.
In a statement, Meta says it's made significant investments into protecting elections online. But the researchers we spoke to say it's not nearly enough. Fake ads and news content can still be found on Facebook and Instagram even well after they've been reported. And without some reliable news on some social media sites, the concern is that the discourse around this election will become less informed and even more divisive. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is defending his party's costed platform after facing criticism from political rivals.
Now, you ask me in a period of economic weakness after the Liberals have been in power for 3 terms, whether it is wise to campaign on economic growth. It's not only wise, it's essential for a change that we grow our economy.
Poilievre was reacting to a question on whether his projections are realistic given the U.S.-Canada trade war. He says his plan would add $13 billion to government coffers over 4 years. It relies on billions of dollars coming from cutting red tape to get new projects off the ground. Poilievre wants to end Liberal laws that he says are holding back Canada's economic growth.
Some Liberals are starting to talk about a majority government. MP Mélanie Joly has asked Quebecers to deliver a majority mandate in dealing with U.S. President Donald Trump. A reporter brought it up when Liberal leader Mark Carney was in Victoria.
So like Ms. Joly, are you asking for a majority government?
I'm asking for a series of single votes from Canadians for a Liberal Party that is determined to build the country if we're given that honor.
Carney did not use the word majority. He said having a clear mandate will put the Canadian government in a better position for discussions with the U.S.
The new Democratic Party leader was in Edmonton to talk about people forced from their homes because of rent increases. Jagmeet Singh says his party will push for national rent controls.
We're going to put in place in this next budget, we're going to fight for national rent control to make sure that no one has to worry about this happening to them again. We're going to ban corporations from buying up affordable homes because that's what they're doing. They're looking around saying, well, where's rent affordable? Because you know what we could do? We could probably triple that rent and make more profit. That should not be allowed. We have to keep affordable homes affordable. So we're going to put a moratorium on corporate landlords buying up affordable homes.
The target of Singh's comments was Liberal leader Mark Carney. He says his rival worked for a company that bought real estate that jacked up rents. Singh also says he didn't expect Conservatives to win the election and that only the NDP would stand up to the Liberals when it comes to rent increases.
The CBC Ask team has been looking at viewer questions about the election. Some of you have been asking if using a pencil allows for ballot tampering. The short answer, you can use a pen or pencil to vote. Here's the CBC's Avneet Dillon to explain.
There have been some false claims circulating online about voting in Canada, so let's do a quick fact check.
The first claim is that ballots marked with a pencil can be easily tampered with. That's false. Once you drop your ballot into the ballot box, it's only unsealed when it's time to count the votes on election day. There are no counting machines involved in Canada's federal election, and you can't vote online. All ballots are counted by hand at every polling station. The votes are counted by election workers in front of witnesses. They're never alone. Those witnesses don't work for Elections Canada and are often party representatives. Elections Canada has a video on its YouTube channel that goes through every step of this process.
The vote counting process is entirely designed to be transparent and reliable.
And as long as there's a mark beside a candidate's name, even if it's smudged, the vote counts. Here's some of the different ways you can mark your ballot. You can draw an X, a check mark, or fill in the circle entirely. But if you mark more than one candidate or write your name on it or any other name, your ballot will be rejected. Another claim circulating online is that Elections Canada only lets you use a pencil to mark your ballot. That's false. Poll workers are required by law to provide voters with black lead pencils, but you can also bring your own pen or pencil to mark your ballot. Elections Canada says it uses pencils because pens can dry up or leak, and an ink leak could end up spoiling your ballot. But you can absolutely ask an election worker for a pen instead or bring your own. And if your pen does leak and spoil your ballot, you can ask for a replacement ballot, but you can only do that once. If you have an election question or you see something you want us to fact check, email us at ask@cbc.ca.
There are long lines leading into St. Peter's Basilica, where Pope Francis is now lying in state. This as thousands of mourners arrive to pay their final respects to the pontiff, who died on Easter Monday. The CBC's Chris Brown has the latest from Rome.
As befitting a man who preferred simplicity over formality, the procession that left the papal residence for St. Peter's Basilica was colorful but pared down. With the procession of cardinals in red in the lead, 14 pallbearers carried Francis's wooden coffin across the square, as many in the crowd applauded. Inside, past the bronze doors, his body was placed by the main altar for a short ceremony, after which the many waiting outside were allowed to file in.
Francis's body will lie in state in St. Peter's until Friday evening, allowing thousands of people to have individual moments as they file past his coffin.
By afternoon, the wait to get in stretched up to 7 hours, but native Montrealer Bill Doig got in early and said it was worthwhile.
It was well worth the experience. A lot of people going in to show love and respect for the late pontiff.
We wanted to just come and say goodbye to this Pope. We loved him very much, so we're very, very moved.
We're very glad that we see him, and this is the miracle for us.
This Vatican correspondent says Francis was very involved in planning how this day would unfold.
I think the simplicity of how Francis wanted to be buried, the fact that he didn't want to go the traditional route where popes are buried in 3 different coffins. He chose one simple wooden one inscribed with his name. It says a lot to his character.
Even those who didn't get into St. Peter's said it felt like they were witnessing history, including this Canadian couple from Wasaga Beach, Ontario.
To be part of that moment of, one chapter of this Pope has ended, but, the hope of a new Pope stepping in. There is some optimism there and, maybe what the new Pope will stand for. And, the world is changing, it's evolving.
Francis's funeral will be on Saturday, followed by the conclave to choose his successor, which may still be 2 weeks away. Chris Brown, CBC News, Rome.
During his 12-year papacy, Pope Francis became known for his outspoken views on climate change, views that were welcomed by some and shunned by others. Anna Ram has more.
It perhaps should come as no surprise that the late Pope Francis would care so passionately about the planet. His name after Francis of Assisi, patron saint of ecology.
Cierto momento sentí que tenía que decir una palabra. Desde acá. El cambio climático.
This documentary was released to highlight the late Pope's strongest take on climate action.
Y así nació Laudato Si.
Laudato Si, his 2015 papal letter that reads more like a scientific paper. From ocean acidification to climate denialism, experts saw Francis paving a moral pathway.
We cannot neglect our responsibility to care for nature or creation, and we cannot abnegate our responsibility to care for our sisters and our brothers.
L'accord de Paris pour le climat est accepté.
It was released intentionally months before the Paris Agreement was struck and noted by some leaders as influential in those negotiations, but its power not felt by all.
We looked at the response of U.S. Catholic bishops to Laudato Si, and we found overwhelming silence among the bishops whose responsibility is to share and to communicate church teaching that includes church doctrine from the Pope, the Bishop of Rome.
The lack of progress on switching away from fossil fuels and the devastating impacts of climate-linked disasters pushed yet another letter from Francis, this time pulling no punches and criticizing ineffective political leadership.
I find it very awesome that Pope Francis was telling us that we should be taking care of our earth.
These outspoken views on climate also helped inspire younger Catholics and non-Catholics alike.
I hope the new Pope can do what Pope Francis has been doing with inviting everyone to come to the church and advocating for the healthiness and cleanness of our planet.
Padre, Figlio.
A light left behind, a torch for future generations to pick up. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
A growing number of Canadians are avoiding travel to the U.S. because of the anti-Canadian policies and statements of President Donald Trump. That's left airlines scrambling to change their summer schedule. The CBC's Paula Duhacek reports.
Okay, go around to the front tag right here.
At the Calgary International Airport, travelers say there's one place that's not on their summer bucket list.
Definitely avoiding U.S. travel.
I'm going to go to Toronto, I'm going to go to Europe, and I'm not going to U.S. this summer.
So you're staying in Canada and enjoy the summer here.
Summer bookings between major Canadian cities and popular U.S. destinations are down nearly 20% compared to last year. That's according to analytics firm Cirium, which looks at data from travel agencies and booking websites. It's a blow to airlines that usually make good money from all those Vegas bachelor parties and family trips to Disneyland.
Canada and the United States have so many bonds, business, visiting friends and family, travelers, leisure travelers going to Florida in the wintertime and vice versa. So this is particularly unusual that you're going to see softening of demand between Canada and the United States.
Airlines are trimming service to the U.S. and adding more capacity overseas. WestJet recently introduced new flights from Halifax to Amsterdam and Barcelona. Air Canada announced a new flight to Edinburgh and more capacity to Paris, Rome, and Athens. For the most part, though, airlines are banking on Canadians exploring their own backyard. Cirium says bookings between popular Canadian destinations are trending up by about 11% for July compared to last year.
The increase in capacity in Canada is going to be as a direct response to the softening of demand between Canada and the United States.
With airlines adding all that extra capacity within Canada, some experts say this summer could be a good time to get a deal.
The odds are we're going to have a little bit of a fare war in Canada this summer.
As for the airlines, they're still figuring out where to fly now that the skies aren't so friendly. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Calgary.
Canada's main stock index and U.S. markets pared back earlier gains, but still ended the day up after U.S. President Donald Trump said he would not attempt to fire the head of the Federal Reserve. Let's take a look at the numbers as we head to break. All right, we've had the build-up to the photo of the day here.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it, I must say.
Well, we were saying what a difference a day makes,
Yeah,
right?
I mean-
Because yesterday was pretty miserable. But,
Full on spring.
Yeah, and this is the time of year, and especially like a sunny day versus a cloudy day, you can really feel the temperatures pop. Obviously, the wind direction is it's a variable time of year. But if you remember back to Friday and what a gorgeous Good Friday it was, this was the scene at Rainbow Haven, and this is, of course, a very popular spot in the summer season. Have a look at the scene.
Oh my goodness,
wow,
that's
a lot
a
of
lot
people.
of folks out.
Yeah.
Touching the water, too.
Yeah, exactly. Getting their feet wet, which that water is
ankle
about...
deep.
That's water's about 2 or 3 degrees right now. So
diehards.
Yeah, won't take long for the ankles to go completely numb. But good for folks who are getting their feet wet there. And thanks to Elizabeth for sharing that. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Okay, so temperatures in the east tomorrow are going to be a bit cooler, ranging between about 6 to 9. And then temperatures will be warmer in through the central and western areas, 10, 13, 14 degrees. So it's going to be pretty good. Now, as we look at Friday's forecast, we'll see the skies a little bit cloudier, especially in the morning where we'll have the best chance for showers, but I do think we'll see some sunshine into the afternoon. There's the timeline. Again, tomorrow in the east, by the way, a little bit cloudier. Not sure I mentioned that. And then we'll be looking at that trough to move in Thursday night, Friday morning, that moves out, and then watching that next weekend system, which at the moment looks like it's going to hold off until Saturday night into Sunday, but still some uncertainty with that.
Okay. Thanks for that, Brian. Well, 2 speed climbers have shattered a 21-year-old record on the Swiss Alps.
The Swiss and Austrian pair completed 3 of the most demanding peaks of the mountain range. It took them only 15 hours and 30 minutes, almost 10 hours faster than the previous record.
They began the last ascent of their challenge in the darkness, reaching the peak in just under 6 hours, a distance that usually takes amateur climbers up to 2 days.
Wow.
They're very fast.
I'd be looking for the helicopter. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.